Hello and welcome. My name is Alan, and we are back with more 2025-2026 state governments and officials. This was meant to be what? Wednesday's video? Uh, but anyway, for the video, we are looking at the state of New Mexico. So, yeah. With that, let's go ahead and dig into this here. Nickname is the Land of Enchantment. There you get an image of where it sits in the U.S. between Texas and Arizona. Also bordering Oklahoma and Colorado. Part of the 4-state point area with the border of Utah, Colorado, Arizona, and yeah. Because I don't think there's another point in the U.S. that does that, where there's 4 states that meet together in one point. I think the next closest is like 3 or something like that. But anyway, the capital of the state is Santa Fe. And the largest city is Albuquerque. As Bugs Bunny used to always say, I must have took the wrong turn at Albuquerque. But it is a landlocked state in the southwestern region of the U.S. and is one of the mountain states of the southern Rocky Mountains, sharing the Four Corners region with Utah, Colorado, and Arizona. It also borders the state of Texas to the east and southeast, Oklahoma to the northeast, and shares an international border with the Mexican states of Chihuahua and Sonora to the south. Its largest city is Albuquerque, and the capital is Santa Fe, the oldest state capital in the U.S. Because remember, it was part of Mexico originally. Yeah, Santa Fe originally founded in 1610 as the government seat of Nuevo Mexico in New Spain, and the highest in elevation. So yeah, the 5th largest of the 50 states in size, but just over 2.1 million residents, making it only 36th in population and 45th in population density. So yeah. The Rio Grande, that the large river, which I think is literally what it means, is part of the border of the state. Runs from north to south, creating a riparian biome through the center of the state that creates a bosque habitat and the Albuquerque Basin climate. But yeah, I know the Rio Grande, it's part of what makes the border with Texas. I'd say it's a little bit of the border with, well, it probably goes, they say it runs north to south, so it probably runs through parts of New Mexico. But yeah, I think it actually makes the bottom border of Texas. So But yeah, that's a look at the state itself. Let's go ahead and look at its constitution, the foundation of its laws. The one that is currently in effect was created in 1910 and became Constitution of Mexico in 1912. Breaking it up the way most of the U.S. Constitution does. It's 3 branches of government, 2 chambers in the Congress, executive branch, courts. The first Constitutional Convention was in 1850, 2 years after becoming annexed territory from Mexico. Over the next 60 years, it produced 4 constitutions, of which the current document was drafted in the Constitutional Convention in 1910. So, 4 constitutions. Because I don't think held its first constitutional convention, because they don't mention it actually had a constitution. But anyway, 4 constitutions overall, it seems like. But yeah. So that's a look at how the constitutions came about in New Mexico. Let's go ahead and look at the government of Mexico. Considers itself a presidential republic, federated state. With a bicameral legislature, governor and lieutenant governor, judiciary led by Supreme Court. Currently, in the executive branch, your elected officials, your governor is Michelle Lujan Grisham, Lieutenant Governor Howie Morales, Secretary of State Maggie Toulouse Oliver, Attorney General Raul Torres, State Auditor Joseph Maestes, State Treasurer Laura Montoya, and Commissioner of Public Lands Stephanie Garcia Richard. All that should match up. Yeah, here's the elected officials. So all these officials are elected by the people. Everything looks to match, so yeah. There's the elected officials. Like I said, some states elects more people in positions than others. We've seen states that elect just governor, lieutenant governor. We've seen states that elect, like this, a whole bunch of people. So we've seen states just elect governor, lieutenant governor, and maybe secretary of state and attorney general. So it's yeah. It's interesting. But with that, we do have a cabinet, which, yeah, we have the list here of the departments and everything pulled up. Quite a few of them for the cabinet. We won't go through them all because, again, I don't know which ones are official, which ones are under. Yeah, it's just so many. I'm like, these can't be all part of the cabinet, surely. Yeah, but still, there's a lot of departments here under government heading, so regardless, the cabinet's pretty good size. Because even here you can see, yeah, fairly good size. Anyway, let's go ahead and look at again your current governor, Michelle Lujan Grisham. Yeah. Typical powers of governor: veto, commander in chief of the National Guard for the state. Let's see. They must be a citizen of the U.S., at least 30 years of age, and have been a resident of New Mexico at least 5 years prior to election. Governor may be elected any number of times, so there's no term limit, but not more than twice in a row. But there is that requirement that you can run, you can have 2 elections twice in a row, but you got to step away. So yeah. Lieutenant governors are elected jointly, so running mate setup. They don't say how long the actual governor term, the term length is or anything. I would assume 4 years. Could be wrong, but yeah. Well, most governors do not have absolute power, or are not supposed to have absolute power. They make state of the state addresses to the legislature, submit the budget, and ensure the state laws are enforced. They reside in the governor's mansion, which I would think is in Santa Fe. Yep. Line of succession. So it goes governor, lieutenant governor, then secretary of state, then president pro tempore of Senate, speaker of the House of Representatives, and then you go to attorney general, state auditor, state treasurer, commissioner of public lands. So that's the order if there needs to be a succession. with the U.S., we know it's president, vice president, and then it's Speaker of the House. But here, as with most states, the Senate leader is before the House leader. But yeah. They say how long the terms are? 4 years. Okay. And your list of governors for the state of New Mexico as a territory for the U.S. It was organized at the end of 1850 and would be a territory for 62 years. Your first territorial governor was James Calhoun. Yeah, politician, military officer. He would die in office. Then he would be followed up by William Carr Lane, who was also the first mayor of St. Louis, Missouri. So he's got a bit of history as a politician. Second territorial governor of New Mexico, first mayor of St. Louis, Missouri. Yeah. David Meriwether would follow him up and serve a full term as territorial governor. Had been a senator from Kentucky and the third territorial governor of New Mexico. He was followed up by Abraham Rencher from North Carolina. So yeah. Then he was followed up by Henry Connolly, who governed the territory of New Mexico during the Civil War. During his term, the territory broke in two and then three parts. So there's a bit of history behind him. 1866 to 69. Following that, in that period, we get Robert Byington Mitchell. Though he would resign, he had been a brigadier general in the Union Army during the Civil War. William A. Pyle, 19th century politician and minister from Missouri, general in the Union Army during the Civil War, New Mexico Territory governor, and U.S. ambassador to Venezuela. So yeah, he was followed up by Marsh Giddings, who would die in office, unfortunately, but yeah. Consul General, U.S. Consul General to India and territorial governor to New Mexico. He was followed up by Samuel Beach Axtell. Was a Chief Justice for the New Mexico Territorial Supreme Court, territorial governor of Utah and New Mexico, two-term congressman from California. So he was politics all over the Southwest. He would be suspended from his position, though, apparently. He was followed up by Lew Wallace. Union general in the Civil War, New Mexico Territory governor. So So yeah, and apparently was an author, artist, diplomat, politician. Following his resignation, we get Lionel Allen Sheldon, Brigadier General in the Ohio Militia, right before the Civil War. And served in the Civil War. U.S. Representative for the state of Louisiana and Territorial Governor for New Mexico. His successor would be appointed, which would be Edmund G. Ross, Edmund Gibson Ross. After the Civil War, represented Kansas, and later governor of the New Mexico Territory. And he voted against convicting Andrew Johnson in his impeachment trial. And it was very close. So, yeah, it was interesting that his vote actually did quite a bit. So, yeah. After him, his successor was L. Bradford Prince, LeBaron Bradford Prince, Chief Justice of the New Mexico Territorial Supreme Court and Territorial New Mexico Governor. So, 14th at this. Well, it says 13, but then we had 14 before. Anyway, he was followed up by William Taylor Thornton. Not a whole lot about him, though. He resigned and was followed up by Miguel Antonio Otero, politician, businessman, author, governor of the New Mexico Territory. So yeah. He was followed up by a Herbert James Hagerman. Not a lot known about him other than he was an attorney and the territory governor. So we're in the 1900s at this point, and he was followed up after he resigned by a George Curry. Military officer, politician, governor of New Mexico Territory, and was a representative of the state in the U.S. Congress once it became a state. And actually has a county named for him in New Mexico, Curry County. And then he resigned, and the final territorial governor was a William J. Mills, William Joseph Mills. He was Chief Justice of the New Mexico Territorial Supreme Court and final territory governor for New Mexico. We finally get statehood, and your first statehood elected governor is a William C. McDonald in 1912. He would be followed up by Ezequiel Cabeza de Baca. He was the first Hispanic elected for office as lieutenant governor. He was lieutenant governor of McDonald there, and then was the governor. So yeah, But he would die in office shortly after taking office, a little over a month. He was followed up by Washington Ellsworth Lindsay. And he would be followed up by Octaviano Ambrosio Larrazolo, Mexican-born American lawyer and politician, U.S. Senator for the state of New Mexico, and the first Hispanic American to hold that role. He would be followed up by a Merritt C. Meacham. He was a member of the Supreme Court while New Mexico was still a territory, but he would be governor when it was a state. He would be followed by a James F. Hinkle, banker, politician. He would be followed by an Arthur T. Hannett, lawyer, politician. And if you're noticing like I am, a lot of them are only going 2-year periods and then not running or losing elections. Here's one with 3, so clearly they didn't start out with 4-year terms. But yeah, after Hannett, we get a Richard C. Dillon, entrepreneur, politician. Okay. He was followed up by an Arthur Seligman. He was also mayor of Santa Fe. So, yeah. Okay. But he would die in office as governor of New Mexico. He would be followed up, finally reaching number 10 here, Andrew W. Hockenhull, attorney, 10th governor. But yeah, that's a look at the governor history of New Mexico. With that, let's go back over here and read a bit on the legislature. Bicameral body, 70 members in the House of Representatives, 42 in the Senate. The regular session must be 60 days, and every other year it is 30 days. So 60 days one year, the following year 30. Is it an every 2-year period for every session, or because I imagine with the House they're elected every 2 years, but again, I may be wrong. Lieutenant Governor presides over the Senate. We've seen some that do, some that don't. While the Speaker of the House is elected from that body in a closed-door majority member caucus. Both have wide latitude in choosing committee membership in their respective houses and have a large impact on lawmaking in the state. But yeah. Your leadership. House Senate is, of course, as we said, the Lieutenant Governor. The Senate President is Howie Morales. Your Senate President pro tempore is Mimi Stewart. And the House Speaker, Javier Martinez. But there's your look at the Senate. 42 seats, 26 Democrat to 16 Republican. And in the House, it is 70 seats, 44 Democrat to 26 Republican. So, yeah. Let's see. The legislature meets every year in regular session on the third Tuesday in January. The Constitution limits the regular session to 60 calendar days, while every other year it is 30 days. While only the governor can call the legislature into special sessions, the legislature can call itself into an extraordinary session. No limit on the number of special sessions the governor can call. After bill passed by legislature and signed by the governor takes effect 90 days after the passage unless 2/3 of the House votes to give the bill immediate effect, earlier effect before the 90-day period, or later effect after. So, okay. So they can kind of control when a law goes into effect. Compensation qualifications. The state constitution requires representatives be at least 21 years old and senators be 25, and members of both houses must live in the districts they represent. There are no term limits. So yeah. House is elected every 2 years, while Senate is every 4. So yeah, there's a look at the legislature. Now, with that, let's take a look at the judiciary. Headed up by the New Mexico Supreme Court at the top. It is primarily an appellate court, only having original jurisdiction in a limited number of actions. Criminal cases in which the death penalty or life imprisonment is sought. Appeals from the New Mexico Public Regulation Commission. And cases involving the writ of habeas corpus are reviewed directly by the Supreme Court. The court's 5 justices are chosen by statewide election or appointed by the governor if to fill a seat that has become vacant midterm. Then they have a court of appeals as an intermediate level appellate court, which has general appellate jurisdiction over the district courts and certain state agencies. 10 judges preside, sitting in panels of 3. Then you have the New Mexico District Courts, or the courts of general jurisdiction, hearing cases involving tort, contract law, property rights, estate, exclusive domestic relations, mental health, appeals for administrative agencies and lower courts, miscellaneous civil jurisdiction, misdemeanor exclusive criminal appeals jurisdiction, and exclusive juvenile jurisdiction. There are 13 districts for the district courts. Magistrate courts are courts of limited jurisdiction, hearing cases of tort, contract, landlord-tenant rights between $0 and $10,000, felony preliminary hearings, and misdemeanor DWI, DUI, and other traffic violations. There are 54 magistrate courts. Then you get New Mexico probate courts, limited jurisdiction, do not hold jury trials, one for each of New Mexico's 33 counties. Then there's the municipal courts, limited jurisdiction, don't hold jury trials. Hear cases involving petty misdemeanors, DWI, DUI, traffic violations, and other municipal ordinance violations. And finally, there is a uniquely individual court, the Bernalillo or Bernalillo County Metropolitan Court. I guess it would be Bernalillo, since this was originally probably Mexican, so which would be a Spanish language, which means the double L is ye instead of li, so Bernalillo. But limited jurisdiction of Bernalillo County. Here's cases involving tort, contract, landlord and tenant rights, $0 to $10,000, felony first appearances, misdemeanor, DWI, DUI, domestic violence, and other traffic violations. So yeah, that's an overview of the judiciary. Let's dig into the judiciary a little bit more. Let's see. Looks like the same courts we've already looked at there. Of course, only 3 of them I have the ability to open up, so with that, let's start out with this Bernalillo County Metropolitan Court at the bottom. Located in downtown Albuquerque. And it deals with the areas of Albuquerque and Bernalillo County. It was established in 1890. All judges elected by voters in Bernalillo County. They hold 4-year terms in 19 divisions. No term limits in the court system, and the elections are partisan. Must be a candidate or member of the New Mexico Bar and have practiced law in New Mexico for approximately 3 years. Your current judges: Victor E. Valdez, Christine Rodriguez, Renee Torres, Courtney Weeks, Frank A. Cedillo, Maria A. Dominguez, Rosemary Cosgrove Aguilar, Jill Martinez, Yvette K. Gonzalez, Brittany Maldonado Malott, Sandra Engel, Jason Jaramillo, Michelle Castillo Daller, Vidalia G. Chavez, Felicia Blair Rivera, David A. Murphy, Henry A. Alaniz, Rosie Lascano Allred, and Linda S. Rogers. So yeah, they talk about detention center, blah blah blah. Okay, so yeah, that's a look at the Bernalillo County Metropolitan Court. Following that one up the line, we have the Court of Appeals, Intermediate Appellate Court, Constitutional Amendment, created by Constitutional Amendment in 1965. The original court had 4 judges, expanded to 5 in 72, 7 in 78, and in 91 expanded to 10, where it remains today. Let's see, appellate jurisdiction, only exceptions, criminal cases in which death penalty or life imprisonment is sought, appeals from public regulation, and cases involving the writ of habeas corpus. Those go straight to the New Mexico Supreme Court. Otherwise, yeah, you're going to the appeals court first. Now, here are the 10 judges who sit on the Court of Appeals. Your chief judge, Jacqueline Medina, and then you have other judges, J. Miles Hennessy, Jennifer Athrip, Megan Duffy, Zachary Ives, Shamara Henderson, Jane Yahalem, Gerald Baca, Catherine A. Ray, Christopher Halton. Did I get all of them? 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. Yeah, I got them all. Okay, so yeah, that's your Court of Appeals for New Mexico. And finally, that brings us to the New Mexico Supreme Court. Judge term lengths are 8 years once they get put into office. There are 5 judges on the Supreme Court of Mexico. It is primarily an appellate court reviewing civil and criminal decisions. And only having original jurisdiction in a limited number of situations. So yeah. 5 judges chosen by statewide election or appointed by the governor to fill a seat. So they are elected to the Supreme Court of New Mexico. After, if they are appointed, if they face popular election again, they must pass review by Judicial Standards Committee, face a retention election, and receive at least 57% of the vote. So, okay. Ain't mad at it. Sometimes you gotta have a little higher standards when it comes to some stuff. So elected first time by statewide partisan election. Thereafter, they're subject to re-election every 8 years in a non-partisan retention election. They must file a declaration of candidacy and then receive 57% of the vote to be retained. If they do not get the vote, the seat is filled by appointment until the next general election. every 2 years, the Supreme Court justices choose by majority vote one of their number who has not been appointed to the court to serve as, who has not reached the Supreme Court by appointment to serve as Chief Justice. So, an elected justice. Your current Chief Justice is David K. Thompson, and his associate justices are Michael E. Vigil, C. Shannon Bacon, Julie J. Vargas, and Brianna Zamora. So yeah, look at the Supreme Court of New Mexico. But that brings the look at the state government and officials to an end. So we'll go ahead and end the video here. As always, educate thyself. Think, read, study, learn. Someone tells you something you have trouble believing, ask them to cite their sources. I'll be putting my links and sources in the description box below the video. Thank you all for watching. I'll see you all in the next one. Until then, later.